Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm going to start a new series about different terms that we use in the real estate industry and, just kind of defining terms for newcomers or explaining some of the basics of real estate, purchasing, selling, investing, etc. So here we go. I'm Cassie Villela. I'm a realtor, property manager, and investor here in San Antonio, Texas. And on my channel, we talk about all things real estate, from market updates to home and garden videos. So if that's what you like, then please remember to click like, subscribe, etc. Find me on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all the places. Moving on. So what we want to talk about today is contingencies. Contingencies are parts of a contract that allow you as the buyer in a real estate transaction to leave the transaction and still get your earnest money returned to you. So contingencies basically let you break the contract without repercussions. So there's a few different types of contingencies, and the tricky thing is that these vary state to state. So every state is going to be slightly different. So even though you may be very experienced investing or buying real estate in another state, if you're coming into Texas, we might do things a little bit differently. So I'm going to talk about how we do our contingencies here. So a lot of states have an inspection contingency, and we do not have that in Texas. Basically, the way we address the inspection contingency is by giving the buyer an option period. So there's a part in the 1 to 4 family contract that most real estate transactions use, that allows you, the buyer, to propose an option period to the seller, and allows the seller to accept that. Typically, it's about 7 to 10 days, and you pay for this option period. You pay a certain amount per day. Again, typically that's $10 per day, but in a hot market, sometimes people bump that up. It's not uncommon to, instead of paying $100 for a 10-day option, which used to be the standard, nowadays people may pay $250 for a 5-day option. So it's one of those things that can make your offer a little bit stronger. And so in a seller's market, you tend to pay more for that option period. But basically, you are paying for the right to have that first period of time where you could back out for any reason. You don't even have to provide a reason. You can just say, I'm exercising my option and I want to cancel this contract. And so that's how we deal with inspections. We basically, if your option period is 5 days, let's say, then that starts the day after the contract is signed. And then you would arrange your inspection, whether it's just the one inspection, maybe a termite inspection, roof inspection, whatever you think is necessary for the property you're buying. And then you would get all of those done within that first 5 days so that you have time to cancel the transaction if it turns out something is wrong with the property. That's also when the bulk of the negotiating takes place, because in most properties, the inspection is going to find something that's wrong with the property, and then you go back to the seller and you negotiate repairs, or maybe the seller gives you a concession or lower the price, whatever. That all happens in the option, and that is the main contingency that we have in regular residential transactions in Texas. Another contingency that's very common is a financing contingency. And so there's 2 levels to this. First of all, there is a buyer approval, and that part of the third-party financing addendum says that you as the buyer, if you cannot get approved for the loan for any reason within a set number of days, you can cancel the contract without repercussions. So let's say the lender is going through your file and they find something that they say, you know what, this is just not going to be we're not going to be able to do this loan. You can still get out of the transaction if it's within that contingency frame. So usually that's somewhere between 10 and 20 days here in Texas. Again, it gets more aggressive in the seller's market. So that's part of the financing contingency. The other part of the financing contingency is if for some reason the house cannot get approval. So if the appraisal comes in low, that's a big one that happens. Or if the lender says, I'm sorry, the roof on this is not acceptable, I'm not going to give you a loan on this house. Those are the 2 main contingencies that we use in Texas. There are some other ones, like If a buyer needs to sell their current home first, then sometimes you have a sale of other property contingency. So that's another type. There's a couple more, but the main ones are the financing contingency and the initial option period. So I hope that helps. If that did, then please remember to like, subscribe, yada yada. If you have any other questions or you have any other ideas for videos that would be helpful, please leave a comment below. Thanks for watching.